This is our back acre that I'm standing in, and it's in the morning, and the sun is coming up there in the east. And this is what I call it a second growth Doug-fir forest, but to be honest, I don't know how many times these trees were logged here. At least once, but I don't know how many. And just walking around back here a little bit. This is, you can see it's got a healthy crop of moss. We had a good winter last winter. We've had some dry weather now. We had a little bit of rain last week, but it's been dry the whole time. And some of these plants back here are starting to wilt a little bit. I have to get over there and see what that is. There's some huckleberry there, but I don't know what these other plants in there are. These trees are probably, I don't know, 20 or 30, well, more than 20, 30 years old or so, probably some of them. To me, I think of this as like a baby, an infant. This forest is like an infant, because it started over, pretty much when they clear cut it. And some of it, in that direction there, you can see some of that stuff there is a little bit overcrowded. So there'll be some of those trees will fall down on their own. There's one back here. There's a couple here. There's one right here that fell over some time ago. They get crowded out and they lose the fight for light up at the top. The taller ones block them, and then they would die out and fall over eventually, and that would thin the forest naturally. In recent years, there's a huge biome underneath the ground here that we can't see. A lot of fungal networks and things, and I've seen some research in recent years about it, and that trees can actually can communicate. They can share nutrients and resources through that network. So in a way, it kind of sounds kind of strange, but in a way, it's almost like sort of like a living organism. To me, it's like this forest is recreating its network like an infant human, does when a human brain first the neurons start to connect and they, start to learn things. This forest is sort of doing that same thing in a way. Of course, they're instead of electric signals, they're sending chemical signals and nutrients and things. But this forest is going to learn over time about, learn is kind of I don't know, maybe I'm going down the wrong path here. It's going to be a healthy forest. It needs to reestablish its underground system of sharing nutrients and communicating and things. We'll never, as long as we're here, I'll never cut this. Some of the neighboring land is being, I don't know if you can see it, there's a house right in there. That's a fairly new construction. It was built just in the last year or two. So they cleared some of that lot over there. There's one neighbor between us and that house. There's a lot back there my neighbor owns, and there's our house back in that direction. I'm out in the back here, but this will never be developed. So it's always going to stay like this, at least as long as I'm here. And it's it's starting to get a good. The ground here is just covered with fallen twigs, from the lower branches that have broken off. Those will eventually just dissolve into the soil and become part of the soil here. It'll build up some soil and give some nutrients to make these trees healthier. You can see the ferns haven't. We've had enough rain where the ferns haven't wilted this year. Some years they do. This looks like an Indian plum or something, and it's starting to wilt because it hasn't had enough rain. Oh, I guess this is all just evergreen huckleberry here. I thought it was some kind of a coniferous plant that was growing there, but it's all huckleberry. Good crop of huckleberry. On my way back to the house, I stopped off by the hydrangeas here. This is I posted this on my Facebook page a number of times. This is the hydrangea that originally came from Bloedel, and I started looking around. I went over here on this hydrangea the other day, and you know the branches get tall and then they fall over. And I came around the outside here and did a little cleanup of the old stuff that had fallen down, and then let the new stuff grow. The little mop heads form on last year's growth, so you don't want to cut back too much. Anyway, so I started digging around the edge of this plant, looking for what I just found here, which is this is a cutting. Hydrangeas are pretty easy to layer. You can run a stem down into the soil, cover it, and it'll root itself. And this one did it by itself. I didn't actually do this on purpose. I just looked around here until I found a piece that had happened. So it started forming some roots. So I'm going to go ahead and pot this up and see if it'll grow, and I'll have a new one of these Bloedel hydrangeas that I can give away as a gift or something, and it's free. So I could do that a lot more often if I wasn't so lazy. But so happy September. We'll see if this grows. I've cut most of the leaves off of it because that small amount of root isn't going to be able to support, maybe can't even support this many leaves. If they start to wilt, I'll cut it back. I put it in some potting, actually some compost, and I added a lot of water, so it's like mud. The pot has drain holes, of course, so it's not going to be standing water. Well, let's sit here in the shade for a few days and see what happens. Hopefully I'll get a new plant from it. And that's it for early September here in the yard. Just walking around thinking. See you next time.